Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Economic and Industry Development Committee, number 7 of 23 on the 10th of August. I note in the room that all members are present except Deputy Chair Councillor Madsen, who has requested a leave of absence. And I move that a leave of absence be granted. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Doyle. All in favour? Thank you. Welcome to, acknowledgement of country. Ipswich City Council respectfully acknowledges the traditional owners as custodians of the land and waters we share. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, as the keepers of the traditions, customs, cultures and stories of a proud people. Are there any declarations of interest in matters on the agenda? No declarations of interest? Thank you. Business outstanding is nil. Confirmation of minutes is the next. Are there any corrections, errors, omissions or exceptions?
No, Chair, and I'm happy to move those.
No? Okay. Thank you. Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Doyle. The recommendation is that the minutes of the Economic and Industry Development Committee held on 13th of July be confirmed. Any discussion? All in favour? Thank you. So far, so good. Item 2 is the key economic data update. This is a report concerning the release of updated key economic data for the City of Ipswich. I'd like to speak to a council officer. Anyone else like to speak to a council officer?
Good afternoon, Chair. Dan Heenan, Coordinator Major Projects and Advocacy.
Thank you, Mr Heenan. We should have move in second, before that.
No, it's fine.
Okay. Thank you. I did have a couple of questions, Mr Heenan, and I can see the connection between the growth industries and the priority industries for our future in Council's economic development strategy. Can you advise us how the Council will be working to support these sectors going forward, given their importance to the regional economy?
Sure. So we've called out the industries for the future in the economic development strategy as being defence, manufacturing, health and transport and logistics. With respect to the defence and manufacturing sectors, we know from recent engagement with established businesses like JBS, TAE Aerospace and Rheinmetall, and emerging businesses like Aegros and Frucor Suntory, that the challenges are pretty similar for a lot of them, and they're primarily workforce driven. And, JBS outlined to me just last week that they're looking to put on a second shift, which will require them to find another 600 staff. Aegros, same sort of thing. They're looking to immediately start a recruitment process, gearing up to 500 staff over the next 10 years. And for them, the challenges are particularly hard because they're looking to recruit staff that have degrees through to PhD sort of qualifications. So there's some real challenges. So we're meeting the stakeholders in that sector at the moment with a view to shaping the development of the regional skills plan for the city. With respect to defence, we'll look to reconvene CITIDAC and also continue to engage with government and stakeholders. And I suppose, investment attraction activities will continue, and we'll look for new opportunities like the Aviation Australia Certificate sort of programs to support those.
So I can see that we're looking at connecting the skills development with the actual industries requiring those people.
That's right, yes.
And also making Ipswich attractive. Is that right?
Yeah, so the 4 pillars of the strategy were very much centred around, informed by our stakeholders and the challenges in their business, and part of recruiting new staff to the city requires, I suppose, in some ways, the city to be an attractive place to live, work and learn and play. So the place pillar in particular within the strategy really centres on that aspiration for Ipswich to become thriving.
So we're looking at a clear picture of growth for the last 12 months. Do you have a sense of whether this is likely to continue?
I do. So as we developed the economic development strategy, we established that over the last 10 years on average, the Ipswich economy has grown by about 3.5%. I think, what we're seeing now with the regional growth and the people moving into the region, we're seeing, we saw last year that there was obviously a much higher growth rate than that, and there's no reason why that wouldn't continue. I think with respect to employment projections, they're signalling that healthcare and social assistance sector will overtake manufacturing going forward, and we obviously heard that message really strongly from Westmoreton Health at the last presentation, and I guess also noting that Queensland Health are investing in some pretty significant infrastructure. I think next week the Ripley Satellite Hospital is scheduled to open. So I guess, our priority is for us to develop actions for each of those priority industries as we go forward.
Thank you, Mr. Heenan. Is there any further questions? Thank you, Mayor.
As the chair of CityDAC, and so talk about the tremendous work that's been going there, especially at the moment with the TAE and Aviation Australia. I do note in the report from RDA, there's when we look at local employment, they don't call out defence as a sector itself. Would it be correct to assume it's spread out over a number of things, such as manufacturing and professional trades and things like that? Is that
and as I understand it, Mayor, it's predominantly captured within public administration and safety, that category. So it's a hard one to sort of capture in a nice, neat stat. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions of the council officer? No. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Heenan.
Thank you.
The recommendation is that the report concerning the release of updated key economic data for the City of Ipswich be received and the contents noted. Could I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Doyle. A seconder? Councillor Fechner, thank you. Any further discussion?
No. If I may, Chair?
Yeah, sure.
Firstly, I'd like to thank you, Councillor Kunzelman, for taking on the important role of Chair and Economic Industry Development Committee. You've shown leadership through the floods with your work as Chair of the Local Recovery Resilience Group and the Deputy Chair of the Local Disaster Management Group. I look forward to working with you as you connect with business, property, government and education sectors on how Council can continue to build Ipswich's economy for future generations. It's great to see you hit the ground running today with an update of key economic data showing our region continues to go from strength to strength. Ipswich's gross regional product reached $12.183 billion, the first time the city's economy has ever surpassed $12 billion. In the 12 months ending the 30th of June 2022, this represented a growth of 5.31%, or $614 million. In comparison, the Queensland gross regional product rose by 4.99%. So our region is certainly outperforming the overall state figure, which is also, our state is also booming as well. In the same period, Ipswich exports reached $12.937 billion, representing a growth of 14%. And in the year 2021-2022, there were 89,135 local jobs, and 46.5% of the resident workers were employed locally, a figure that I would certainly like to see increase year on year, and that's a real focus that we have. Healthcare and social assistance continues to be the largest employment industry, with 16,195 people, or 18.2% of our population, and we know that our defence sectors are just behind that as well. Finally, it's interesting to see Ipswich now has an estimated 12,064 total GST registered businesses in the March 2023 quarter. There were 453 new businesses and 284 businesses with GST cancellations in that same quarter. So with strong forecast population growth, we know that employment is expected to grow, and we will see increased pressure on our transport network. We will continue to advocate for improved transport infrastructure, such as improved highways and interchanges, as well as improved public transport services and a second river crossing.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your kind remarks. I'll now put that to the vote. Those in favour? Thank you. That's carried. Notices of motion, there are nil, and matters arising, there are nil. I'll close the meeting at 1:10 p.m. The next meeting will be at 1:20 p.m. And thank you.